Good day, ladies and gentlemen. As they say from down under Brisbane, Australia, welcome to David Nair on Air. I understand this broadcast is telecasted across the globe to a number of the countries that I worked in previously: UAE, South Africa, India, Spain, Southeast Asia. I welcome each one of you into the particular events that we are having this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great guest. I'm going to talk about her shortly, but before I do that, David Nair is a peak performance strategist, keynote speaker, author of the book titled IXL Wired for Success. And my prime purpose of bringing this type of events to you is primarily to fulfill a very passionate objective of mine, which is to create a heart set shift, a mindset shift, and a soul set shift in 1 million people across the globe, thereby improving their lifestyle and that of the next generation. That's my legacy that I'd like to leave behind with a lot of people. This is a weekly broadcast primarily to create shifts in people. My team and I scout our network to see how we can bring in some of the best so you can get some information from them and twig your life for the betterment, especially in today's day and age where we have the pandemic going through. Friends, the guest we bring to you today is a wonderful lady all the way from Singapore. Her name is Meera Nair. Currently, she is based out of Netherlands, and we are going to telecast this event from Netherlands. My best wishes to Meera to come on board. Meera, would you like to just share your story a little bit, please, before we get into the details of it?
Yes, definitely. Hi, David. Thanks for having me here. It's such an honor to reach out to Mars. And okay, a little bit about myself. I am from the fitness and wellness industry for the past 30 years. But over the years, I realized that, though we say physically we should be fit, it doesn't mean that it's only physically fit. We need to be mentally fit, emotionally fit, spiritually connected. And this is a whole, it's a whole package. And over the years, I learned that. And this is why, for me, breathing, yoga, Pilates, the flow, the Nirvana fitness, all mindfulness has become so prominent in my life. And I'm sharing this with a lot of people. So that's where my journey started. And, where I am now, I'm here talking to you. It's very exciting.
Fabulous. But I don't want you to miss out on the CSR work that you're doing. I'm led to believe you work in Cambodia with some of the orphanages over there.
Yes. This is an orphanage that I support. We are a group of school friends. This friend of mine came across this particular orphanage in Cambodia, which is not under any NGO. They are sort of surviving by their own. So we thought this would be a great thing for us to give back to society by educating the kids there. So what we do is we try to get sponsors to sponsor the kids for higher education, for food, for their school, for the tuitions. But right now, we are so proud to say that our kids have grown up and they're all, not all of them, a handful of them, they are getting into professionalism. So they're getting to becoming a lawyer, they're bankers, and
Wow.
into the culinary, and it's so proud for us. And because of this, we have to constantly contribute, right? We need to get sponsors to support the orphanage. So we all do our part. And I have written a book called Heart to Hearts. It's about seven women across the globe, how they had to go through life and where they were and how they have achieved success. And it's a story about them. It's a very inspiring story, and all the proceeds from the book goes to this orphanage. So we
Fabulous.
are doing our bit. Yes,
I know it's
yes,
a fabulous venture. Fantastic, Meera. Meera, the title of our
yes.
session this evening is "Let Flow into Your Life for Longevity." Now, I find, very honestly, quite a lot of people will not understand this concept of flow. Why don't we kickstart our discussion with that?
Okay, sure. So, the flow is a state of flow. Okay. Now, when we say state of flow or being in a zone, is a zone of peak performance. Okay, and our
Mhm.
optimal perception as well. It is actually, if you put it in a simple term, it's a mental state where a person performing an activity, for example, painting. You like painting, you love painting, you like reading. So you are so focused on that activity that nothing else matter in the world. And in your focus, you're so immersed in that activity. You're fully involved, and you enjoy the process of that activity. And it
Right.
seems like time just flies, and ego falls, and there's no place for inner critic. And that is when your mind is clear, means when you enjoy doing something. So it is kind of a wave. So throughout our daily lives and routines, we are able to feel different levels of flow, different levels of enjoyment, different levels of performance. Mostly what happens is, like, in a day we get little bit flow here and there, but imagine your life being in a complete flow. Okay, but having said that, it depends on your current momentary condition, and you should be open, be ready, accept, and we cannot force flow. So this small waves that of flow that we get is great, but and because it makes you feel really good about yourself, and you be more in control with yourself. And this is what the flow stage is all about. When your mind is in flow, there is no unnecessary thought in your mind, that you're more clear when you take your decisions. Even in with health, you're so much in control. So this is what the topic about the flow goes.
Right.
The
Now,
flow.
now flow and clarity, and then getting into the centeredness. How do you put that in sync and find and explain to individual to get to
Okay.
that state? What do we do?
So yes. So to get to that state, first of all, is that our mind has to be decluttered. We are so bombarded with so much of information nowadays. There's too many things happening, and this pandemic, for that, for just let's take this pandemic as an example, right? We're constantly hearing that we're losing some friends, parents, or it's happening there, and it's really reaching towards us, like we are really losing uh, our loved ones, and we are given so much of information, and leaving people really stressed. And that's why when we are in flow, we are able to take control. That means to declutter the mind. So now that mind is all full, jam packed, right? There is too much of internal dialogue going on, what I should do, what I should not. So the fear has set in, right? And it's like, should I not, should I eat this, should I do this, should I do this inhalation, should I do this meditation? I know there's so many things. Do I use ginger? There's so many things that's coming up, right? So here, there's a lot of chaos outside
Hmm,
of us. But
hmm,
within us, if there is clarity, what happens when you have clarity? You're more focused, right?
hmm,
You're in charge of yourself, and
hmm.
whatever happens to you, you are standing firm with your feet on the ground. There will be chaos outside, but when the chaos inside here is not there, you're much more confident about yourself, isn't it?
Sure.
You're much more confident, right? So
Yeah.
this is more of taking charge of ourselves. So, but having said that, this is the way we train our mind, David. We train our mind because everything starts here.
Hmm,
It all
hmm.
starts with in our mind. If I say now fire, we will all run, right? And we get stressed. But if we train our mind, fire, yes, what should we do now? What's the
Right.
solution? That's what we
Right.
should look at. So we must learn to have our feet firm on the ground and confront challenges. And this only happens when we have our mind clear, clarity, silencing the inner chaos instead of resisting it. I would say, life, in life we have a lot of things that's pulling you here and there. But
Yeah.
if you resist, what happens? If you resist, what happens? You're clashing, right? So we
Hmm.
say, navigate your life in ambiguity. So that is why flow, having flow throughout our lives each day is so important. Every day, because every day is different, right? Today is different from yesterday. So
Hmm.
the whole thing about getting into flow is basically calming the mind, releasing the stress. And then you're more able to take firm decisions and what to do, solutions. So
Now that's interesting. It's easy said than done. How do you achieve this state of flow?
yes. So it all starts with a breath. It's your breath. It's an ancient old technique, and we all know this. But we are not really focusing on the way we are breathing. And it's
Mm.
so important that we have this flow, because it is the ultimate state, that it is the most desirable state you want to be, because this is the foundation for your deep inner peace, your sense of empowerment. So in this state, like, there is no stress. Normally, what would you say? Say, supposing you are in trouble. Okay, an example: you're in trouble, and somebody would say, David, just breathe, take a deep breath. Okay, you take a couple of deep breath, and what happens to you? Just that few seconds, your mind is completely calm, right? So it's just that breathing calms you down. The breathing calms you down so much that there is no internal dialogue, there's nothing happening in your mind, that you are able to think clearly. And how do you get there? Yes, there's so many ways that you can get there, so many
Before,
ways. Okay.
before you get to that, how do you? I want to drill down a little bit more on this. When you say, it's breathing and it's clarity coming in, what do you really do with the breathing? I mean, I always keep saying, the breath is the gift of life that God's given us. But nobody
Yes.
has taught us to breathe. It's just after the spec God has given us in the bottom when we are born, that's the only breath exercise we've got until you go and consciously get into exercising for breathing. For
Yeah.
those that have not done it, can you just illustrate or go through a
I
process?
Okay, I'll just share a little bit before I share the process with you.
Mm,
Now, when we were born, when we are kids, when we are babies, we were so carefree. If you see the
yes.
baby sleeping, you see the stomach coming up and down. We are doing deep breathing. Okay, but as we grow older, we have a lot of things to take care in our lives. We have in our work, our family, and the kids, and all that. And what happens is that stress is building up. Okay, everybody has got stress. Okay, that's a known fact. But how you take charge of it? So breathing is what calms you down, definitely, yes. Now, what happened is people have forgotten how to do that calm breathing. Now, research says that over 80% people around the world are breathing wrong. Whereas
Yes.
science says that we need only about 6 breaths per minute to have a quality life. So if you look way back in the early 1900s, people used to breathe anything from 4.9 to about 6.9 breath per minute. All right. But
Mm,
when it came to 1980s, it became a little bit more. And when it came to 2000, of course, the millennium happened and people were breathing 12 breaths per minute. So can you see exactly half of it, completely 50% has gone up the way we
mm,
breathe. And now we are in 2021. Our breathing has gone way, it's in danger zone. We are in a zone where it's toxic. So what is toxic breathing? We are doing chest breathing. When you're
right.
stressed, just check your breath. When you're angry or when you're stressed a little bit, how is your breath? So your breath, you're using only chest breathing. So this one is for, we call it the sympathetic system, where it's
Mm,
a fight or flight mode. So in
mm,
the past, we had flight or fight, parasympathetic and sympathetic system, where we had both, but we could balance it, because we did things, stressful things, and then we could relax, right?
mm,
Like those days, our parents, for example, they stuck to just one job. From the time they joined the job till they retired, they're in the same company. They were not jumping from one company to the other. But now everything has changed, right?
right.
So calmness, the where you go into the system where you are relaxed for rejuvenation, that is not happening. So when you do chest breathing right now, research says that we are breathing anything from 12 to 20 breaths per minute. That is completely, the stress level has gone way high. So people are breathing. So when I tell them, come join my class, come join my session, I'll teach you how to breathe. So yeah, I'm breathing, I'm alive, yeah, but are you breathing
Properly.
quality air
Yes.
properly? So that's all about deep breathing. So you inhale, you bring your diaphragm up, your diaphragm goes down when you inhale, and then you exhale, your tummy goes in. So these are deep breath. They teach you in meditation, deep breath. But in flow, we use one technique of breathing. That is, we inhale through the nose, we exhale through the mouth. I know many of you have done yoga, pranayama, and all that. There are so many different types of breathing technique, but every technique that you get is for various purpose, right?
Mm.
To heat up the body, to cool down the body, to get over fear, to be calm. So many different types of breathing techniques are there. But here we used only pursed lip breathing technique. So that is inhale to the nose, exhale. Your mouth is like a purse. When you blow on your hand, it should feel wet and moist. So
Mm.
if you can all try that, inhale to the nose and exhale to the mouth. Do you feel it moist and wet?
Yeah.
It's like when we were kids, we used to, fog when on a rainy day when the house was warm, it's raining outside, we used to blow on the mirror and we used to, it's fogging the
Yes.
glass, something like that. So that's the way we breathe. So this, what happens is that detoxification is happening. People are breathing, but they are not exhaling enough. They think that taking in inhalation is the remedy, but no. Inhalation, your body can only take a certain amount of oxygen. But when you exhale, all the toxin has to go move out of the body,
Mm.
and that is not happening. And
Mm.
guess what? This is the reason that we now in this new era, we can say that you are hearing a lot of diseases that we've never
Yes.
heard before,
Ailments. Mm.
haven't you? Right? In the past, what was it? It was high blood pressure, sugar. Yeah, we hear something. Now we hear a lot more other things like
Mm.
this. So,
Well,
yeah,
before
breathing
you
is
go
it.
too far down, you touched on the word diaphragm, but I'm not going to let you go. I was taught this, okay, very simply, and this is exactly what I do in my programs too. When you breathe with your diaphragm, what happens is you're pushing your diaphragm down, and fortunately or unfortunately, it's an auto system that your chest goes out. Therefore, the
Yes,
capacity, your lung capacity is increased. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
absolutely right.
Now, if your lung
Absolutely.
capacity is increased, therefore there's so much more oxygen going in, allows you to push out the toxic that's sitting there. That's what you're trying to explain. Is that right?
Yes, and there's a little bit more to it. Okay.
Right.
Now,
Please.
okay, that what is diaphragm? Okay, so for some of the viewers, diaphragm is a thin muscle that separates the internal organs and your lungs, your breathing machine, I would say. Okay, your lungs. So when you inhale, so it's like this. So this is the diaphragm. When you inhale, this goes down, okay, and your chest comes out, your stomach comes out, right? And then when you exhale, the diaphragm pushes it out. So lungs by itself is just like two soft tissues hanging there, like a two, you can say like a deflated balloon hanging there. Okay. So when you inhale, you inhale into those lungs like this balloon. When you're inflating it, it expands, right? But it's not only the diaphragm. We have got secondary breathing muscles. That is our torso, like
Mm.
from this part, from your shoulder till your hip bone. So guess what happens if you have a sedentary life? You know, your muscle gets contracted, your posture becomes like this. Even if when you're sad, how is your body language when you're sad? It's like this. When you're
Mm.
happy, you're up
Mm.
there, right? So sedentary lifestyle is also one of the reasons where you cannot breathe properly. Some people
Mm.
say that my lungs are not strong. It's not the lungs. It's basic, maybe a certain level to the for the lungs, but basically all these muscles here, you know, they are not stretching enough.
Right.
That's why exercise is very important.
Mm.
Movement is very important. It's just not sitting and doing only a work, even for meditation, I would say, or even for breathing. Just sitting and just breathing, yeah, it's okay. But you need to have your body to move because your body creates energy. We need
Mm.
that energy. So everything is included, David. So muscles, your nose, your lungs, and your secondary breathing muscles, and your diaphragm. Everything is a package. So we need to
Mm.
really take care of not only the breathing, but we need to strengthen your chest and your back and the abdomen and the hips, everything, right? So that your lungs, when you breathe into your lungs, it has that enough space. So the muscles are pulling it out, your rib cage opens up, right? And your diaphragm goes down, and then when you exhale completely, it goes out. So, well, yeah, that's how it
Thank you for
works.
that. But something that went through my mind as you were saying that it's the sedentary life that we have is actually moved into the watch that you currently have has got applications in it that teaches you, hey, 30 minutes have gone. Have you done your breathing exercise? And it goes through that process. Now it's creating us to be more sedentary rather than turning around and saying, hey, listen, we can do it ourselves. That's not been
Yeah.
conditioning, is it?
Yeah, it's all within us. It's all in us, and like we say, it's a gift, right? Breath is the gift
Exactly.
because the moment you're born, that's the gift that you've been given when you're born, your breath, and that's the last thing that you let go when you die, right? And
Mhm.
we take this breath for granted, you know this awareness that we have. The youngsters also needs to be aware.
Right.
It's sad to say that no, we come to a certain stage of life, only then we realize, hey, these are all gifts
Exactly.
and we need to really value it. Now we're telling
Exactly.
the youngsters, there are schools that teach children how to breathe,
Breathe.
to calm the mind, and how to excel. So we're talking about flow and this breathing technique. It's not only helping you physically, but it's also helping your emotional well-being. It's also helping your memory power. So that's why we say that it's so important for children to breathe, to learn how to breathe at a young age, so that their body sort of get used to it. It's like what you put in and it grows, right?
Hmm.
Where you focus, the energy goes. So they get into the habit. Now we didn't have that habit when we were young. We
No.
carried loads of books, and then we had
Yep.
sedentary life, and there was no balance there. So this awareness needs to be created. Like what
Mhm.
you all are doing is such a great job that you're doing, David, that you're creating awareness and giving us platform to share this. So
Yeah. And the cause for that is mainly, a lot of people don't realize, and I have this philosophy where, small shifts generate big gains, and people don't understand. A lot of them, as you said, oh, breathing. Okay, I know how to breathe. But in actual fact, there's so much more to understand, and you've got to be humble enough to turn around and say, I don't know. Let me go find out, and then let me just master that skill so I can be a better human being. And that's the bottom line
yeah,
in what we're trying to do.
yeah. Yeah, and see, when you say just sit and breathe, or just sit and meditate, some people are not cut out for it. Okay,
No.
but when I tell some people to go to the nature, sit
Hmm.
in calm, sit quiet, automatically, when you go to nature, there is a magic that happens, isn't it? It has
Yeah.
got some energy that calms you down immediately. You connect with nature, you connect with the ocean, the sounds of ocean. It's meditative. When
Hmm.
you have this nice weather, you put a hammock in and you just lie down and you seep in that moment. That is flow we are talking about.
Exactly.
Is it not possible to bring that flow in our daily lives? Of course we can. But we
Yes.
have to put a conscious effort, not only
Right.
during vacations,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
and this is where we a lot of them don't understand. A lot of the community does not understand that I call it rituals. These are certain. I get into the ritual of doing it. As an example, you talked about nature. Most people don't realize just having a plant or even just walking to the garden and putting your feet on the grass is a
yeah,
way
yeah.
of playing that
You
flow.
connect.
Exactly.
Well,
And then through that
well,
connect, something else will come into play.
yeah. So well said, because we have something called the breath walk. Okay, we
Right.
have something called the breath walk. So it's a walking meditation, to tell you honestly. If you ask
Yeah.
me, it's a walking meditation where we're not sitting and meditating, but we are walking on grass. So I tell my participants, remove your shoes, walk on grass, because we are always, especially in the town and cities, we don't get
Mm.
a chance to walk on grass and touch nature. So we need
Exactly.
to remove and be on. So it also humbles us, it grounds us,
Mm.
connection on the with Mother Earth, I would say. She holds us. So walking on grass and breathing, like you take 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, inhale, exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. You can do that as well when you're walking and sitting and listen, or also listening to your heartbeat. If you
Mm.
can come to a state where you can listen to your own heartbeat and you can feel that, duduk, duduk, duduk that's happening, and you can feel the movement of that the heart when it beats. So you have to go to that extent of meditation or in silence when you're sitting, just connecting with yourself. I would say listen to your heart beat, and then you feel love from inside, not from
Mm,
outside. So
mm,
this is the flow we're talking about. We have got flow. Blood flows, right? Blood
mm.
flows. We have water in the body and it flows, and heart is beating. A lot of things happening inside our body which we are not aware about. So connection with yourself means connecting with every part of your body, right? Connecting with your emotions, connecting with nature, that I would say spiritual connection,
Mm.
or connecting with the universe or your god or whatever you call it. That connection is very important, because
Mm.
if you don't connect with yourself, and you're not contented with yourself, whatever comes from the outside, you will never be satisfied.
Exactly.
You
It's an
know,
inside
you're
out job.
constantly searching. Yeah, you're constantly searching for something all the
Exactly.
time. Stop
Exactly.
searching, just look inwards. We know that,
Right.
right?
Right. Moving on from the breathing, the mind brain flow. Would you like to
Okay.
just expand on that?
Yes,
How we
yes,
trace
yes.
that truth?
The mind, brain, and the flow. Okay, just let me tell you. Now, the mind, like I said, everything starts in your mind, first of all. You can
Mm.
create a positive day, or you can create a negative day. It all
Yeah.
starts with how you're going to think in the morning. And like you said, you said about ritual, having a routine in the morning, like a breathing or getting up and just unwind. And then when you start your day will go smoothly. However, if you are going to just stumble out of the bed, okay, you're getting late and you stumble out of the bed, and you just have to just grab a cup of coffee, and then you see your car doesn't start, and one after the other, it just becomes negative. It just follows. It just follows one after the other. And even if you have a good day, something good happens, you will only look at the things that didn't happen well. You'll never focus on that one small good thing that happened. So it's
Right.
all here, right? So when your mind is, stressed, the way we breathe is different. Like we breathe different when we are sad. We breathe different when we are stressed, guilt, anger. Okay, all these negative emotions will change the way you breathe, right? So the breathing, your mind and your heart is connected. So this is where it starts. So once you start calming yourself down, we have something in our brain. This one, we call it the Tronson hypofrontality. This is more technically, if I would say, it's your thought, that you have so many things that you've not done this and you're not done that. So many things you sort of tell yourself, but with your breathing, when your mind is calm, that sort of dissolves slowly. It just melts away. So when that melts away, and you don't have too many thought processes, like keep your life simple. We complicate our life actually. If you keep your life
Right.
simple, things will fall in place, right? So not having like 10,000 things in your mind to do list becomes like 10. Instead of that, have like 3 or 4 to do things that's important. Focus on that, and you see how your day will go well. So that is being
Mm.
in flow. So when you have your day routine all this set, and these are the things, so I always tell my students, end of the day. So morning you have a routine. Okay, get up, unwind, connect with yourself. You can just sit in your balcony, have a cup of coffee, listen to the birds chirping a little bit, calm yourself, and then be ready. Okay, and then you write. Okay, what are the things? You have your journal. Journaling is very important. It's really good. It works because journaling is more about you creating a roadmap towards the day. You have a
Mm.
map, like GPS. People use GPS even if they know the route. They will still use GPS. Oh no, no, it's still it's easier. So it's easier if you have a GPS for the day. You see, so if you can connect everything, like today, this is what's going to happen. This is what I'm going to do. Yes, but end of the day, you will see that some things you did not do, or you couldn't do due to various reasons, and you get stressed for that. Why? No, we are human beings. So you need to really tell yourself, I'm a human. I will make mistakes, when I will have my good days and bad days, but I will acknowledge them. So you're having your successes, write down your successes. And then I have one column where they journal to say, what didn't go well, and how can I make it better for another day. So we are not putting it away, and we are not constantly telling us, no, I didn't do this, this didn't work out. No, why did it work out? Maybe we didn't put a certain ingredient in that, probably. Okay, that's one. And gratitude, being grateful. Gratitude exercise is very important because, like I said, we take our breath for granted, we take our life for granted, we take our body for granted. So these are very important things. These are all given to us free of cost. Air is given free of cost. Even now, water we have to pay, though it was given free of cost. But be grateful that we are alive today.
Hmm.
And we can see this year 2020, and how many more years to live. So be grateful for every little moment. So when you put all these things in, you see, you are so in touch with yourself. You're so in touch with yourself, you're grounded. Gratitude grounds you. And this is where, like I said, again, I'm saying all the outside chaos that happens, that will not affect you.
Hmm.
This is how mind, body, spiritual, and physical connection that comes together helps you go with the flow. And
This
of
is,
course,
I'm sorry, continue, please.
yeah, and of
Yeah.
course, you will be bombarded with obstacles,
Hmm.
instead of resisting it, and always ask yourself, what am I learning from this experience?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this is so important. Every experience is a learning experience.
The tripad that you just mentioned, the mind, body, and your soul or your heart. The key element here that I look at is synchronity. Flow and synchronity is quite identical, but most people do not understand how to grasp it. When I look at flow now, I'm saying, okay, am I centered? That's the bottom thing. What's
Yes.
overwhelming? Can I dump it? What do I need to focus on? So if I want to put a process together, what would you suggest and recommend so the audience out there can now understand and say, okay, this is what I need to do on a day-to-day basis to get my flowing, and then at the same time process it through so I can rest at the end of the day. I know you touched on journaling, I know you touched on gratitude, but I want you to put a process together so the audience would have something to take away with.
Okay. Okay. So start your day. So journaling, yes, but if you are not into journaling, it's fine. If you're not into journaling, it's fine. So I'm giving you both ways. So
Yes.
first thing is to, when you wake up, say thank you, and when you go to sleep, say thank you.
Mm.
Okay, this is a very important for us to understand. Now, when you have like a lot of things to do, now we all have a to-do list. Even in our mind, we have the to-do list. Why I say that, writing it down, taking out of your head and putting it down. Many people don't sleep well because this thought is really bugging them. They go to bed with this lot of thoughts. I've not done this. I've not done that. I've not done this. Oh, this I did, but this I didn't do well. And then what happens? They lose sleep. If you want to be in flow, you need to have, first of all, physical, good sleep, good nutrition, hydration, physical activity, plus mainly is the sleep. Mainly is the sleep. How many of you, all of us are working globally, if you look at it nowadays, right? It's
Mm.
beyond borders. And we are working with different time. David, what's the time in Australia now? Tell me.
It's 11:30.
Yeah, it's your bedtime, right? It's your bedtime. But exactly. So, but as long as you get your enough hours to sleep, because we are working in different time zones, but we need to be really conscious to give our body enough sleep. If it's 8 hours that's refreshing you, give that 8 hours. If it's 7 hours, uninterrupted sleep. So, which means you have different stages of sleep. But of course, I tell them, I tell my students and my clients, when you go to sleep, try to keep the environment, decluttered, put some essential oils, to induce sleep, have a chamomile tea, to calm yourself down. Some people are not into tea, and oh, no, no, it keeps me awake. So the main thing is that when you go to sleep, your bed should be comfortable, but what bugs you is not the bed or the pillow or the space around you. It is here. So
Mm.
that's why always keep a notepad next to you,
Thank
next to
you.
you. Okay. And when you sleep, you start counting the sheets, and then you say, oh, now I'm breathing. Let me focus on breathing. Okay. You start breathing, and then your mind drifts away. We are human beings, right? like we say, monkey mind, right? We have the monkey mind. We jump from one thought to the other.
Yeah.
So when we are breathing, suddenly you drift away and then say, oh, I forgot to switch off that light. Okay, that you have to go up and put off that light or whatever. But if you have that, oh my God, I forgot to send that email. You don't. It's not urgent. It's not a life and death matter that if you don't send that email tonight, that if something drastic is going to happen. All you need to do is take it out of your head and write it in the small notepad next to your bed. So it's taken out from your head and is put in the notepad. And next morning, you know that it'll remind you. The first thing you look at, oh, I got this to do. Okay, the things to do. You look at it and you remember to do it. So this kind of thoughts will come in and bug you. So all you need to do is again declutter of the mind. Take it out, put it out. Take it out, put it out. So it is there in the book, so you'll see it physically. Sometimes what happens is if you don't write it, the worry again that you will forget in the morning, that will keep you awake, isn't it?
Very true.
So yeah,
64,000 thoughts per day is what goes through here.
yes,
And that's
yeah,
why we are
yeah,
so cluttered. Now, my point is, you emphasize write it. I love
right,
that. My
yeah,
question is, today's day and age, a lot of them are into tablets, a lot of them are into digital phones. And while they're sleeping, that's what's happening. Okay. Now,
yeah, 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 yeah.
how do we break this off? Now, is it important to ignore the phone, put it aside in another room, or do we just punch it into the to-do list in the phone and tablet, or write it?
You have to put it off. Yes, write it. Because you know what? Again, the light from your phone and your tab is again going to create,
That's the key.
your it's going to play havoc with your brain waves and you will not sleep. Again, that's the white light we call it, or the blue light, right? The blue
The
light you
blue
call that,
light.
right?
Yeah.
The blue light. Then that's very bad for you because it takes away, it keeps you alert. It keeps you alert. So even your phone, to put it off or on flight mode is very important. All your gadgets, because see, we have got frequencies that's happening from our brain, right? We
Hmm.
have frequencies from our brain, and imagine all the other frequencies that's interfering in our head, and that is when you lose sleep.
Yeah.
But there is something called the theta wave music. We use a lot of theta wave music in the flow. It
Hmm.
has got a certain frequency and it's got the binaural beats. So the music, like sometimes you hear two speakers, one speaker, there's some music, and the other speaker, there's other music. And this is
Yes.
good to calm your mind because the frequency is just a vibration. It
Hmm.
messes positively, it messes with your brain waves and calms you down. That is good to
Mhm.
listen. If you want to listen to music, listen to theta wave frequency music. Okay,
Right.
but you're not going to listen to fast beat music. Like when you exercise, what kind of music would you like to listen? Right, you like to
Fast
listen
food.
to that pumping music because
Yeah.
it's got a kind of a feel to it that you are pushing to do your bicep curls and all those things. But when you are in a when you do relaxation, what kind of music would you listen to? You would always listen to Zen music. Like when you go to a spa, when you go
Hmm.
to do a massage, what kind of music do they play? It's
Hmm.
soothing music to relax you. So those kind of music is good for you to listen to when you sleep. And of course, thoughts, take it out from your head, write it down. Do not use, you have to tell yourself, you need to draw the boundary where you should stop and where you should not. Now, what has happened is there is a boundary, but we've all overstepped that boundary.
Hmm.
Even in the night, we are messaging and telling people like a WhatsApp, yeah, let me answer this, let me reply this. No, certain countries, they really do practice this. And I see a lot of
Hmm.
European countries do practice this. They do
Yes.
not go on to gadgets over the weekend when they're with family. They don't even answer emails. And why are we doing that? We
Exactly.
in Asia we do
Exactly.
a lot of this. I just don't understand this balance. It's in us. It's in us. Maybe it's
Hmm.
a cultural thing, probably that we need to do
It,
it.
it,
You
it
know.
is. It is. I had a huge learning. My coach number two. I had 14 coaches to get me to where I am. My coach number two, who was my career coach, taught me that very early. One of the key things I had to do in those days was shift money from one location to another, meaning when funds came in for the project. We are talking about $4 to $5 billion per project mining, and we would move it from one bank to another bank. For example, New York opens, Hong Kong opens, and then Australia opens. So by moving it, you can get the maximum in interest rates. And those phones used to go at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, Australian time, okay? And I used to tell Jerry this, and I said, Jerry, this damn thing. And he used to just say very easily, he said, you can fix the problem. I said, what? Well, in those days, we didn't have mobiles, but he said, get an answering machine. Let the answering machine do the job. You see, you look for an alternative. And today there are alternatives, but people are not prepared to use it because of the convenience factor. And this is where the challenge is. Now, if you know that convenience factor that we have is going to cause us some health problems, is going to cause us some issues, why wait till the issue comes up? Why not park it now and then continue handwriting the notes or do whatever is required, like what you're suggesting? And when we do something like that, it is for our betterment. It's not for anyone else's betterment. And unfortunately, people don't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, they hear a lot, but it's so difficult to put it into practice. Again, it's we have really consciously take charge of our lives now. With so much happening, like I said, this COVID, we feel that things have gone out of hand, but it is in each individual to take control of it. Yeah, you have to do all the measures that that we have to do, and take care of your mind and your heart. This is where it is, right? And this is what you need to teach the youngsters as well, our future generation. Imagine, we are the lucky generation where there was no Wi-Fi and we didn't have all those gadgets, and we've come to this level, right? Now, but imagine the future generation. They have never ever experienced what life, the simplicity of life. They've never really experienced that. But for them, if you tell them, they will not understand what are you trying to say. So yeah, constantly getting them to be aware. This awareness we're talking about, breathing awareness, mindful awareness, speaking out, expressing yourselves. These are important factors in every individual. I mean, of course, I'm a little bit deviated from flow, but when you talk about expression and not being cynical, not being critical about yourself all the time. So this is again flow, coming back to flow, where your mind, it doesn't tell yourself like, oh, I'm not good enough. All these limiting thoughts that we have. I'm not good enough. I'm not, fat enough or not thin enough, or I fear that I cannot do that. I'm too old for this. I'm too young for this. All this internal dialogue that happens is when we are out of flow. But when you're in flow, we just go with the flow. Like say, supposing, no, there's a presentation, like, I don't know, audience who are watching, if you have a presentation to do, and it's a live presentation that you have to do, and this is a little bit fear, that is good, that keeps you going to do your work, to do everything. But imagine just once you are there presenting it, where is your focus? You only focus on that presentation, and by the end of it, you'll realize, hey, I just finished 2 hours of presentation. So that is being in your element, being strong in your element, focus, and that's your subject. You see, and nothing else matters. It's you're there, focus. This is flow we are talking about. So in life we can do that as well. In everything that we do, every area of our life.
When we talk of what you just addressed in relation to the different generations that we have gone through different things, today, the pandemic, we've got kids who will not know anything else apart from going to school through a tablet. Now, how are we going to cope with that?
Yeah, it's so difficult for the kids because they just want to get out and play.
Exactly.
Where I live in Singapore, from my window, from the kitchen, I oversee a small playground. And when we were in lockdown, the playground was all cordoned off, and it was very sad to see that the kids were not able to come out. And after a while, yes, of course, but this is also an opportunity for families to get closer to the kids. This is, if you look at it, you can just turn it around the other way. When everything was normal, we took things very lightly. We went out, but how much of connection were you? How much were you connected with your family members, and how much of quality time did you spend with each other? Did you really have, heartfelt conversations with each other, even with your kids? Like what's happening now with this whole lockdown? Kids are not being able to get out. They are so much onto Zoom and tablets. It is our duty as parents to break that little bit for the youngsters to get off the tablet and have quality time, like playing games like those days. Teach them some traditional games, and there's so many things that that we have learned as youngsters when we didn't have all those tablets. And what did we play? We did board games and caroms, and we spoke, we played, inside the house. We were not allowed to, when me as a kid, we were not allowed to go out and at a certain time on your own and things like. We never had all those things. We played. We were four sisters. We all played at home. We played badminton and all that. So this is a great opportunity for parents to bond with the kids at a different level completely, teaching them about life skills. What happens when they step out? Once you're an adult, what's going to happen when you step out? You have to think on your own. You have to take decisions on your own. Teach them some how to manage money. The jar system that we have. I'm teaching a group of youngsters how to manage money. Just even if you have 10 rupees or $10, how do you split it up into different jars? It becomes very interesting because they create the jars, they have labels on top of it, and they put the money in. So there's so many things that you can teach the youngsters to make use of this time. Sleep early, sleep well, you know, that's very important. Eat healthy. You can also engage them in the kitchen when you're cooking. They like responsibilities. So give them chores that they will love to do. Give them the responsibility. You see, nowadays the parents are not giving kids a lot of responsibilities because they just let them study, you study, and we will take care of you. No, it's not that. You need to take responsibilities. Here in Europe, at the age of 15, 16, all kids are asked to work at least a few hours in a week. I'm
Yeah.
sure in Australia also that happens, right?
Yes, very much so.
They,
I mean, I started my career at 14 and a half working
yeah,
and going to uni.
yeah. It gives them that pride, when they have the
Yep,
little bit of a pocket money, it's their
exactly.
money, right? So teach the kids how to be independent and not dependent on you.
You know, that's
So
so vital that you say that because in my journey of coaching, I've had coached individuals, executives who are coming through right through to CEOs. Now, it's interesting. I had a case where at 36 years old, this guy was so timid, and I was really punching him hard to come out of the shell. And then when I drilled down, I understood. At 36, he's still sleeping with his mom and dad. At 36, the guy is still suffering inward. He can't even express openly because the dependency is so strong with the parents. And the point I made to
yeah,
him is very blunt, very blunt. What you need to look at is how can you shift that? And that's what I mean by small shifts. And we started with simple things, Meera. Simple things like, what you used to do and get to your mom and dad. Now, what I would like you to do is try to stop asking your mom or dad for that. Go and do it yourself.
do it
Go and do it
yourself.
yourself.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
and those little shifts. And today, that guy from being just a clerk is actually a senior manager
Wow.
because, yeah, because he took the initiative to get up his bum. Excuse me, get up his bum and go do something about it. And this is what we got to do. It's useless
Yes,
sitting
yes.
back and saying the mom and dad will do that for how
No,
long?
no. For how
And
long?
and
Yeah. And,
and we as parents need to be conscious of that.
yeah. And what happens is that once the parents are not there anymore, I've had some incidences like, people whom I know,
Hmm,
they've been like, at a very late age, still parents had to decide everything. They didn't know how to handle money. But when the parents died, they didn't know how to survive anymore, you see? And their lives went dwindling down. And that is not good. So that's not what we want for our kids, right? We want to
exactly.
teach them life skills, simple things, managing money, Communication, this is another important thing. The kids are nowadays are not communicating verbally, but it's all through games, and
Yes.
it's good to a certain level, yes, but they need to meet people. Yeah.
And that's why you
So,
hit another subject that's very close to my heart. When you say communication, I have a very brief expression for communication. Communication in any relationship is like blood to life. You take blood away from life, what happens to life? It dies. You take communication away from a relationship, what happens to it? It dies.
gone.
Most don't
Yeah.
understand that. And see, they've
Yeah.
come through sitting timidly, and then when they don't know how to communicate, they make such a huge faux pas on what to say, how to say, when to say it.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a problem.
Very true. Yeah. That's a problem. That's when we say it's you're going out of your rhythm,
Yes.
out of your rhythm, because they don't know the rhythm.
No.
So that's why they need some help. But of course,
Yeah.
like nowadays, we have a lot of great programs, coaching programs with you, with me as well. So, people need to have mentors to
Yes.
support them in certain. See, we are not good at everything. We may
No.
not be good at everything, but we can have mentors to help us in the things that we are not good at, isn't it?
Yep.
So we have to be open to it. So teach the children that as well. It's okay if you're not good in this area, you're best, you're doing great in this area. Show them their strengths, show them the weakness. How can you work that weakness through?
Mm.
So these things that they learn will be so handy when they grow big. They use all that you have taught them. As parents, what we teach them, they'll carry these things. Say, "Oh, my dad taught me this, my mom taught me this." So
Mm.
this is a very proud thing that as a parent, you've done your duty if you're really going to
Exactly.
make your
Exactly.
kids
That's the true
independent,
true art of
independent.
parenting. Sorry to say this, but
Yeah.
that's true art of parenting.
Yes, another topic for another day, probably. So, yeah,
Yeah, I know, I know. Let's drill down. I want to
let's
get
go
some
back.
I want to get some stories out of you. Can you share a couple of key stories on how transformation took place when you decided to work with this, and without mentioning names, if you can just share some of those, please.
You mean how I got into flow, or just my
No,
life?
no, no.
How?
Your participants and how you, by doing flow,
Oh
what
yeah.
transformation and breakthroughs have happened with them.
Okay. Well, being in flow, I see I do a lot of workshops, all right? I do
Mm.
a flow into your heart. It's basically to get rid of your emotional clutter. We have goals and visions, flow, retreat. So in general, I have a participant who she was learning how to swim. She's of my age, maybe. And she was learning how to swim. She went for like 8 classes, 10 classes. She was finishing her class. But when she was doing this whole flow technique, like morning routine and things like that, she got a little more confidence in herself. And you guess what? She started swimming so smoothly, and she got it recorded and she sent it to me, and I was like so overjoyed with it, and with flow as well. So that's one. And we had a few of my participants who were appearing for an exam. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of fear when you have exam, right? But when you have this routine, like morning till evening, you have your connection, and acknowledging your successes, acknowledging your what I won't say the word failure. I would say what didn't go wrong, or what went wrong, how to make it right. So when this you started using this technique, within the 10 days of workshop, they completed the exam. They completed the exam and they passed. So these are the few things, and also some of them who have got this chronic breathing problem, like asthma and COPD. They were breathing better. The
Right.
immunity was going up. So because see, it's not only about breathing. Breathing is one key element. The next one is I talk to them on sleep, eating, drinking, activity.
Mm.
So activity is more like mindfulness, walking, a walk in the on the beach, feel the sand on your feet, the
Mm.
connection with, so these things make them feel that they are grounded, and that they sort of got over that fear that, oh, if I don't get my inhaler, I will not be able to breathe, and that fear is not there. So they are much more calmer, much more confident about themselves. So these are a few of the the things that I've come across with my participants. But there's one special lady. She is about 76 years old. I was doing personal training with her, one-on-one flow techniques with her. And she is a caregiver of a 96-year-old mother who's into dementia. So
Wow.
imagine, and she's single, she's not married, you know. And she had a spot on her nose, and that was cancerous. This was a few years ago. It was cancerous. And the doctor told her this, okay, you're free of cancer, but there can be a point one chance that it can come back. Okay. So one day she got up in the morning. I was going to visit her for the training, and she saw a spot on her nose, and she got, because of the one statement the doctor said that there are chances, 0.1% chance that you may get it. So she just connected with that, and she got stressed. She's breathing, in a very bad way. So on my way, I was asking, "How's everything? Are you okay?" She said, "Not okay. I found this, and I'm down waiting for you down." So when I went there, she was like really upset. So all I had to do was to make her breathe. The moment she started breathing, she got clarity. I said, "Yes, you found this. What is the solution now? You have to think of plan of action, not sitting and worrying about it. That's not going to help you. You need to get what's the plan of action? What are you going to do next? Okay, I need to call up the doctor, take an appointment, go and check it out. It doesn't mean that I have cancer again." So putting all these things into perspective helped her, and that is what she's doing now. Whenever she gets a little bit worked up, she immediately stops, takes in a few breaths, and she thinks of what I need to do next. So that whole thing about what action I need to take to resolve this helped. So these are the few things. There's a lot more
Yeah.
stories, David.
You see, many people miss this concept, overwhelming, the concept of overwhelming, and they don't know how to compartmentalize it. And what happens is coaches, as well, the coaches are there for to do this. And I put a little 2 minute or 3 minute video on that, and I used to just tell in that video, I mentioned this very simply. The first step of excusing yourself from being overwhelmed is just to dump everything into file 13, which is the rubbish bin.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And then settle down and go back to it and fish out one by one and see what you can do with it. Now, that's basically what we're talking about. But most of us are so fearful of not wanting to do that. Okay.
yeah,
On the same subject, I want to sort of touch a little bit more about a concept of what I call dopamine, serotonin levels, and
yes,
those
yes,
chemicals, I call it. Now you had a beautiful lunch, I think, and I've had a beautiful dinner, and we didn't even consciously think, but our digestive juices were working to digest that
yeah,
food. When we are overwhelmed and when we are in this anxious state, that anxiety generates certain enzymes, and we call
yes.
those enzymes dopamine, serotonin. How do you control that in the flow? What do we do?
Okay, it's a simple technique. Okay, breathing. When you calm the mind, your okay. So when you breathe and when you calm the mind, um, oxygen going deeper into every cell, right? And
Yes,
it also helps with all these enzymes and all these hormones that's coming into the body. Now, for example, immunity. Let's talk about immunity. Okay, the immune system. Now, this has been proven that being in flow is a key weapon to fighting against fighting any viral pandemics as well, right?
yes.
So the oxygen is the main thing that is needed for your brain to function, and it's from the brain that it sends the signals to every part of your body to release this, release that, to control this, control that. So if you're going to give enough oxygen to your brain, the brain will function better, right?
Hmm.
Whether it is going to we are talking about release of dopamine or serotonin or any of these other things needed for to boost your immune system. So this whole thing of directly lowering your anxiety level by calming down uh, the mind, okay, we call the prefrontal cortex from the brain, and
Yes.
our fear center, it positively influences your whole system, especially your endocrine system. By how? By actually flushing the the neurochemicals into the system by giving us a feeling of happiness and fulfillment. So
Mm.
it drives us automatically from that stress level to the direction of comfort, from fear to a flow state. So
Mm.
if we're talking about the breathing, if you really practice deep breathing regularly, you will not even fall ill that easily. All right. And there'll be a balance in all this release of all these hormones. There will be a balance. Now, when your immunity is really strong, robust immune system that you have, you'll notice that you'll never, even if you have a little bit cold or cough, you will recover faster,
Mm.
and you don't see that you fall, you get fever that often. Your recovery is very fast. Sometimes, yeah, when you go out, you get some, bacteria here, there, it's inevitable. But because you have a strong immune system, it fights it off very easily. That's so. Um, what also goes in hand is also, like I said, all the other things like sleep and everything, right? Sleep and eating and hydration, mind, body, everything. But this is the main thing. So in short, I would say that, if you want to build that strong immunity, you want to bring that strong the balance of releasing of all these hormones in the body, you need to bring your immunity up first of all by calming the mind. We say temporary deactivation of the mind,
Mm.
breathing deep, detoxification of the cells. So the whole thing is about the cells, right?
Mm.
Now, even illnesses, how do we get all these defaulted cells? They clog together and they create, certain disease and illnesses.
Yes.
So if every cell gets enough oxygen, the cleansing happens. You see, you need oxygen to cleanse. So if it,
Mm.
it has to really go in, you need that oxygen. But if you're not really, you're doing that chest only breathing, you're breathing to be alive, right? But you're in
Mm.
that stress zone, the toxic zone, but you're not really cleansing that cell enough.
Yeah.
So
You-
this whole balance that happens, it's here. Like I said, it's not only about your mind, it's also about the brain functionality.
Mm.
When you inhale and exhale long, it allows it to balance everything else in the body.
Mm.
It's not
See,
only
we
that, but it's what. Yes, go
right.
ahead.
See, the reason why I touched on those happiness enzymes was very simply put. When we take food in, our body is basically about 90% water. So whatever
Yes.
food we take in is actually toxic because it toxic the toxic levels have gone up in the body, in the cells, because the water has been squeezed out, right? It's got to find the balance back. Now, just as food can be toxic to your body, so is this thing called anxiety levels and unhappiness. We are all striving for happiness, and they create a form of enzymes that causes toxic in there. And by doing
Yeah.
simple activities, the dopamine levels can go up. Simple
Yes. Yes.
activities, you know,
Yes. Yes.
completing a task, for example, as simple as that, it builds the dopamine
Yeah.
level. And this is what
Yes.
most people
Absolutely.
don't understand. That's what I call by small shifts. Your serotonin levels, how and what is required for that. Simple,
Simple.
extremely
It's
simple. That's a mood factor. That's why people are so moody in a lot of cases. And all they
yeah.
need to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
understand is how best they can do by just going for a walk. Get away from the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
You started
Just
off a conversation by saying, go to the forest, walk. And that's basically
yes.
what it is. And
But
then
you
the
know
other
what?
thing, sorry, go on.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. No. No.
And
You
the other
say
thing,
go
the
for
endorphin levels, for me, that was, it's a pain. See, I work on these areas.
it's
The
pain.
pain, the concern I have is it's a painkiller. And most people are happy like a dog sitting on a nail and howling for the pain to go. But they don't know they got to get up for the pain to go.
Yep.
That's as simple as that.
Yep.
But what they have to do, another simple task, is to look at, I'm just looking at some, taking, as you said, essential oils. I took some notes of what you said,
Yes.
okay? So when they use the essential
Essential
oils,
oil.
and then
Mindful music. Better wave music is
exactly,
also another one.
I mean, these are
Yeah.
all simple tasks that you just put into your system and you see what happens, and happiness just comes. Like the Dalai Lama says, it's the center of
Yeah.
everything.
Well, you can create it also. See, many of us, many people are, not very fortunate to get out to walk at this, in this situation. Like,
Yes.
in the Netherlands, like things are opening up. We can get out. We can go for a short break. But certain countries, it's not. For such
No.
people, I would say find a place in your house where you feel home.
Yes.
Your corner. For me, it's my bed,
Right.
and that is my positive corner. And my creative juices come out when I sit on that particular corner. So just
Exactly.
sit there, or maybe it's just by the window, watching out of the window
Yeah.
and connect with nature. You have it there. It's not that it's not doable. Everything is doable. Even in the house is doable. You know what, David? When I get back to Singapore, I have got 3 weeks of quarantine in the hotel,
I
and
know.
I'm going to create a routine for myself. I may be lucky. If I'm lucky, I may get a window or I may get a balcony. Otherwise, no. I may just not get even a window. So I'm mentally preparing that it's okay. You just have to go with the flow and embrace whatever. And it's an experience, and get that beautiful experience out of whatever rubbish you are in. Get that beautiful experience out of whatever experience you experience in life. That's what I
Yeah.
would
I,
tell
I, I don't know
everyone.
who's watching on this telecast, but I'm going to disclose a little bit of a thing that happened in the quarantine. You talked about, you're trying to do something. We were not allowed. I mean, we had a little barricade, and you're not allowed to go on the free, but you're allowed to go to the laundry and do your laundry washing. Okay, now, and that's walking there. But what I did was I made sure I went to the laundry, but every 5 minutes I walked out of my room to get to the laundry to check my laundry. Though you're only allowed to go once, but I said I got to check my laundry if it's still there. And so each trip, each laundry took me at least 6 or 8 trips outside just to go and breathe.
Yes,
That's all it
yes,
was.
yes.
But most of us
Yeah,
don't realize you got to find a way to get over the situation. Can't just sit on it like a dog howling for pain. Get out and do something about it.
do something about it. Yes, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm sort of. It's a bittersweet
Yes.
feeling, about the
Mm.
quarantine. I don't know what to expect, but I'm telling myself I will, go with the flow and not resist, because I'm going to say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have, a hot breakfast. Sometimes I believe that they will just ring the bell, leave the food outside, and they go away. And if you don't wake up in time, your food is cold. But so all these things is going to be an experience, and I'm going to journal it down every day as to what
Exactly.
I learned from this quarantine. Yeah, yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. Hey, Meera, I am sorry we are run out of time. We've
I
actually
know.
over our time. Time's just flown. But it's been a great privilege and pleasure to have connected with you in such a short time and been able to sort of put something out, and particularly this concept of flow for our friends to understand and actually appreciate and create an awareness so they can fine tune their own areas of expertise and skill up for the betterment.
Yes.
Meera,
Thank
thank
you
you
for having
again.
me, David. Thank you.
It-
Thank you,
It's my
everyone.
pleasure.
Thank
It's
you.
been great. Thank you so much, Tao.
Thank you.